What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to TTB Ravens Media, bringing you Ravens content every single day. If you want to see that Ravens daily content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below and turn the notification bell on if you want to get notified every time I upload a brand new video. I do apologize in this video if I don't have as much energy. I got my vaccine yesterday. I'm just really tired. That's pretty much the only symptom I have. I'm just really tired. But, you know, I'll try and keep up the energy. But basically I had a plan on doing a video today. I'll still do it eventually. Maybe Joshua and I will talk about it on the Trust Bank podcast. It's pretty interesting, basically talking about players that may not make the team next year. Then I saw this. I saw this yesterday and I remembered it this morning and I was like, this is something that I kind of want to talk about. Basically on Twitter, it was from the Underdog Football Show, which I think is like a fantasy football show. And they were saying some things that were downright ridiculous and just wrong, you know, about the Ravens. And I'll basically go through the couple of things that they said and I'll basically tear down their statements. But yeah, so first of all, they said that Rashod Bateman will step in and be the clear wide receiver, the clear best wide receiver over, you know, Hollywood Brown, over Sammy Watkins. And you know, he'll lead the Ravens in targets. He'll probably lead the Ravens in receptions, and that, you know, and then in conjunction with that, they said that Hollywood Brown can then just be able to go out and run his deep routes, which I don't want to take anything away from Rashod Bateman. I don't. I really like Rashod Bateman. You know, if he comes in to the Ravens and he is the wide receiver one, that's not a bad thing. It's obviously a very good thing. But, you know, this is to talk about Hollywood Brown. And I made a video a couple of weeks ago, I'm pretty sure, and it was about Hollywood Brown being disrespected by the media, by the fans, because he is a really good wide receiver. He's not given as much opportunity, but he's really, really good. And some of the most underrated parts about his game are his route running, and he's able to create separation. The problem has been that he's been the only good wide receiver on the Ravens since he came to the team. And you know, sure, I guess you can say offense intended to Willie Snead and Miles Boykin. You know, Duvernay, you know, is a guy with a lot of potential, but as like a pure route runner and things like that as a wide receiver, he's good with the ball in his hands. But as a pure wide receiver, he's not an amazing wide receiver by any means. So Hollywood Brown was the only guy, and they were out there, and they put a guy over the top, and they watched that, and then they play the run heavily, and obviously that's not going to work when you're in a passing offense. A running offense that, you know, doesn't pass for a lot of yards. And Hollywood Brown, he doesn't get a lot of yards. However, he gets touchdowns, which in a running offense that, you know, is led by Lamar Jackson and Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins, getting touchdowns is very, very important as a wide receiver. It's more important than getting yards because you're going to rush for most of the yards or about half of the yards. You know, being a running offense is like, you know, you do about half. But, you know, he has 15 touchdowns in 2 seasons, which is better than a lot of football players, you know, at the wide receiver position that people say are just like miles ahead of him. But, you know, if he was in a passing offense, he's a 1,000-yard wide receiver. And he's a 10-touchdown guy. But he's not, and he's stuck, you know, I say stuck in a Ravens side. It's not a bad thing, but he's not going to put up as good of numbers. It's like, you know, when you've got a superstar, and I'm not trying to say he's the greatest wide receiver of all time, but, you know, if you put LeBron James on Team USA, you know, and they're going up against some scrubs, how many points is he going to score? He's probably going to score like 25 points. He's pretty darn good. He'll put up points. He's one of the best players in the world. But if you put LeBron James on, let's say, the 12 and under kids league, he's going to go out there and he's going to drop 150 points. Like, because the players around him aren't as good, so he has to do more of the work. You know, he doesn't have the players that are around him that, you know, will be able to show that he's better. So Hollywood Brown is playing without any of the other guys, but he's not even given the opportunities to show what he can do. And I'm not trying to take shots at Greg Roman. I'm just trying to say that that's what the offense is. It's not going to be a crazy touchdown point. And I don't even know if my analogy made sense. Maybe it was a horrible analogy. I'm sorry if it was bad, if it didn't make any sense. Like I said, I'm tired. But Bateman, I believe, will help out Hollywood Brown, because defenses will no longer be able to play just over top on Hollywood Brown in passing situations, because they have to worry about Mark Andrews over the middle. They have to worry about Rashod Bateman likely on the outside. They have to even worry about Sammy Watkins, like a lot of different things, and that'll allow Hollywood Brown to be even better. So then people will really be able to see, oh wow, Hollywood Brown is a number one wide receiver. But that was just the first part of the disrespect that they came out with. What was the podcast called again? I'm sorry. It's the Underdog Football Show. And that was the first part, was basically saying, Rashod Bateman's going to lead the team in targets. He's the clear best wide receiver that they have, and Hollywood can just go run 9 routes. Okay. But then the next thing that they said, which was even more ridiculous, was they said, and I quote, I had to write down the quote, and they said, the Ravens offensive line is not nearly as good as it was in previous seasons. That is like so incredibly wrong. It's like that quote, Luke Skywalker, where he was like, amazing. Every word you just said was wrong. Like that. Like, no, that it's better. They brought up things and they were like, oh, the Ravens lost Orlando Brown Jr. One, Orlando Brown Jr. was graded as like the 27th best offensive tackle last year or something like that. But, I'm not trying to throw shade at Orlando Brown. But they're like, they completely minimized Ronnie Stanley being significantly better than Orlando Brown. Then they brought up, this was the worst part. They said the Ravens lost their center. They were like, they lost their center. It's going to be a tough loss. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Matt Skura, I like Matt Skura, but that dude could not snap a ball last year to win a football game. Literally. Look at what happened in the New England Patriot game. That's just the perfect example. He missed multiple snaps to Lamar Jackson, and the Ravens could not get it done. And that's something that was really hurting the Ravens, was literally the play of their centers. And it wasn't just Matt Skura. Makari missed a snap, or maybe it was 2 snaps in the playoff game against the Bills. Makari was okay overall, but that's really big, is losing that. They completely downplayed Kevin Zeitler coming to Baltimore. Like, that isn't a major upgrade at right guard over, whoever you want to say, DJ Fluker or Tyree Phillips. They kind of both switched around on the right side. And then they didn't even bring up Alejandro Villanueva. The other guy on the show was like, well, they also brought in Villanueva. It was like, oh yeah, they also brought in a 2-time Pro Bowl tackle, to upgrade over a late round pick that was meant to play interior offensive line in Tyree Phillips. Like that's a major upgrade at the right tackle position. Like, it's ridiculous to say that the line is not nearly as good when I feel like it's clearly better than what it was. At least last year, it's a significant upgrade. Like, we could possibly be upgrading at every single position from what we had last year. Possibly. It depends on how good Ben Cleveland is, and it depends on how good Bradley Bozeman is playing at the center position. But, other than that, the 3 other spots are all upgraded. So saying that it's going to be worse was that just made me even more mad, because I had just seen the tweet, and it was like, the main tweet just read, and it was like, oh yeah, Rashod Bateman's going to be the clear wide receiver 1. So I watched the video, and then they started talking about the offensive line being worse when it's better. It was ridiculous. And I don't know. If anybody in the comments is with these guys that thinks that the Ravens offensive line has downgraded, let me know, because I really don't think that there's a case for that, unless Alejandro Villanueva comes in and is horrible, because Tyree Phillips was not that good at the right tackle spot. Now, hopefully he can, step up and he can improve, and maybe he even competes and wins the left guard spot. But he was not that good. DJ Fluker was not very good. The interior offensive line really struggled, and we upgraded potentially in the interior offensive line at every position. So, yeah, let me know in the comment section down below what you think about the offensive line getting supposedly worse, but also Bateman and Hollywood. Because, I'll say this. Bateman could come in and be the wide receiver 1. And that would, I would root for that, because I've already established that I think Hollywood is very good. So if Bateman comes in and becomes a wide receiver 1, it wasn't that it was, he's just the clear best. It was the fact that they slandered Hollywood as saying basically he's a deep threat. Because Hollywood, if he was just a deep threat, he wouldn't have been the first wide receiver off the board. he was seen as a guy that could do everything. And that's what he does for the Ravens, that he just doesn't get any credit for it. So let me know down in the comment section down below what your thoughts are on, this podcast. I refuse to learn the name. The Underdog Football Show. Let me know. Thank you all for watching. Subscribe for daily Ravens content, and I'll see all of you again tomorrow.